Hello, it is Jim, and I am really gonna have to try to contain myself for this video, because I think I'm about to get really excited and really crazy. Um, this is a video entry in a new series that I'm going to do, probably quite sporadically. Um, that I'll, at least in my head, I will be calling, uh, Spirit Spotlight or like Spirit Spectrum, something like that. And it is a video series that I'm going to be doing on stuff that's kind of overlooked in the pagan world, I think, because in my experience with, paganism and coming to paganism and continuing in paganism, um, it's all about Wicca and witchcraft, and occasionally you get stuff about Druidry and Asatru thrown in there. It's really all about the white folks and what the white folks worship and stuff, and that's just kind of annoying to me. If I'm being really honest, it's infuriating. And yeah, I know I'm white, but it just makes me a little mad. When it comes to like color in the craft, all you really get is some like Native American stuff, if you're lucky, like shamanism, even though it's a Siberian term, and that's it. So today I wanted to talk about something that I know I've probably mentioned in a ton of videos about how it's been influential on me and stuff, and that is hoodoo. I love hoodoo. So let's talk about hoodoo. um, so hoodoo, where do we start? Oh my god, where do we start? So I think a lot of people shy away from hoodoo and voodoo because they think that it is like black magic, no pun intended, or like dark magic, and that it's all about cursing and hexing, um, bringing harm to people, or selfishness. Perhaps they see it as like hokey because of the commercialism of hoodoo and voodoo over the years. Like, the whole like fortune teller aspects of it. And like, if you've ever been to New Orleans, uh, people are just lined up down the street giving you like authentic voodoo spells and mojo bags and stuff like this, and they're all hokey and not true usually, and just BS that we see with witchcraft and Wicca too. But for some reason, we understand that that's not what true Wicca is. But when it comes to voodoo and hoodoo, we don't know any better. So I think a lot of people think that that's the truth of hoodoo and voodoo, and that's unfortunate. Um, Hoodoo is not the same as voodoo. Voodoo, I'm gonna try to condense this as much as I can because I could probably just make a whole video series just on hoodoo. But voodoo is a see. I have so many mixed opinions about this, but voodoo is on paper a religion from or a series of religions that kind of formed one religion from Africa, essentially, originally, right? People debate where from, West Africa, the Cuban culture, etc., etc. But it's an African religion, a set of beliefs that came here and became the voodoo that we know. So slaves were brought to America, and these were slaves from all over Africa. These were people that didn't speak the same languages. These were people as each other. These were people that didn't believe in the same gods as each other. These are people that didn't practice the same forms of magic as each other. These are complete strangers that just happen to live in the same country. Just because they're slaves and they're black doesn't mean they're all the same people. They're not. That'd be like if someone came to America and took a whole bunch of us from all over the states and took us somewhere to be slaves. We wouldn't know each other. So, these people were brought here, and forced to work and everything. But of course, I mean, obviously, being in a state of duress like they were, they're gonna really dig into their spiritual beliefs. But also, just being together with these new people, their beliefs started to merge, and so that became what we call voodoo, which is usually spelled Voodoo, and then some purists spell it Vodou, Doun. There's a ton of them, but it's all usually pronounced voodoo. So voodoo is like Wicca is to witchcraft. Where Wicca is like the religion of the witch, voodoo is very much like the religion of the hoodooist, but you can't even make those label comparisons, but we'll get there. So, sorry, my cats are a little excited in the background. You keep seeing them jump up and down. But, voodoo became such a patchwork religion. Obviously, they have the saints from Catholicism and a lot of Christian imagery. And that's because these slaves were being killed and persecuted, raped, and all this horrible stuff for their scary witchcraft or satanic practices. The slave owners were seeing this and getting scared in front and not understanding what they were doing. Screaming up at the sky and dancing around fires and having effigies and puppets and things like that. So they really wanted to make a crackdown on them and make them convert. Like any good Christian would. You want to save people. Get them into heaven. So, even if you don't see them as people. But, so, in response, kind of, slaves took the images of Christianity, Protestant and Catholic, and Judaism, the Abrahamic faiths. They took them and just kind of incorporated them into their belief system and their practice. One as a disguise, but also two because it fit in very perfectly with their existing belief system. So, in voodoo and hoodoo, there is this belief that there is this one supreme energy, this one supreme creator force that is genderless. It's not male, it's not female, and it's not even necessarily conscious. It has nothing to do with humankind. And then there are all these lesser deities, which are the Orishas and their pantheon of gods. That does rule over people and work with people and work with the land and etc., etc. But that primary force, it's kind of like the fifth element of the witch's pentacle, It's the energy that flows through everything. It's the Great Spirit, it's the ether, it's the Akasha, it's that. So they saw Catholicism and thought, oh, this is just the white man's voodoo because there's this Holy Ghost or Spirit, Holy Spirit, this God, this Yahweh, who is this supreme creator energy, and then beneath it, or him, but beneath it, there are all these saints and apostles that seem to be like gods and goddesses. So it really seems the same if you put it like that. And so I think that's probably part of the reason why they were more willing to take it in as a part of their faith as well. There's a huge parallel with Hindus doing that too. They'll just absorb Christianity and be like, well, it's just a part of Hinduism. But regardless of the reasons why they absorbed it, they did. I think it's because they're a little more open-minded, but and they didn't want to be killed. But Hoodoo became and is such a huge patchwork religion, and still is. You can do whatever you want to with it. And I think that oh, sorry. This is so distracting. I keep getting this damn phone call. Okay, from some number. Anywho, skip that. So anyway, Hoodoo is just really strictly the practices, the magic of voodoo, the herb concoctions, etc., etc. So I practice hoodoo. I use a lot of hoodoo in my practice. Hoodoo has a lot of different names though. Hoodoo is called hoodoo, and it is also called conjure. It is also known by root work, people who practice hoodoo sometimes are called a hoodoo man, a hoodoo woman, a conjure man, a conjure woman, a root worker, or a root doctor, or a conjure doctor. There's a lot of terms. And there is also this little kind of movement that says that only black people should practice hoodoo and voodoo, and that's bull crap. That's so racist. That's like saying that only white people should practice a satru. That's racist. And I've heard that, and that's completely racist. And bull crap. Yeah, I thought I would share some of my hoodoo practice with you. In hoodoo, there is, you still cast spells, but generally you don't call it casting spells. It's laying tricks, or working the root, or root working, or conjuring. So laying tricks. There's a lot of fun language in hoodoo. So there's laying tricks, and essentially, there are different methods that you go about in laying your tricks. Like some hoodooers don't really cast circles at all. Some do. Some don't even call them circles. Some call it laying a compass, which is a whole other method in itself, rather than casting a circle with the 4 quarters. There's a huge emphasis on working with your ancestors in hoodoo. And I think what scares a lot of people away from hoodoo is that, 1, they don't know anything about it. 2, it's not extremely easily accessible, in my opinion. There's a lot of garbage you have to filter through to get the true hoodoo information out there, like in books and stuff. But, it does have an element of anger and darkness to it, on the surface, if you were to just look at it, because it was a spiritual practice born out of a time of darkness for the people who made it. These are people who are mixing all of their African beliefs together to make one African belief system. But anyway, let me just get on to my stuff that I was going to show you. Things that you frequently see in hoodoo are dolls, effigies, puppets. That's pretty much all the same thing. And some people think of the Raggedy Ann dolls and things like that, like the voodoo dolls that you prick and things, which isn't it's not bad when you're pricking dolls. It's not like you're casting a curse on one. Certainly you can use them for that, but when you are pushing pins into dolls, that could be to heal or to bring luck or etc. etc. This is a doll that I use very frequently. It's plastic. Surprise! I know I've talked about in another video about my altar about how I love plastic. But this is a doll that I use. It's just a Barbie doll. It's actually a Disney princess doll. But yes. Sometimes I use her to represent people in my life. Sometimes I use her to represent gods and stuff if I'm channeling the female divinity. But it's not uncommon to see pop culture items and toys and all sorts of dolls on people's altars who do root work. Like that Wonder Woman in the background too that I've showed before. That's just a doll. It's just a toy. But yeah, root work. You use very much what is around you. In that sense, it is a very urban spiritual practice as well. It's also arguably a Christo-pagan path, but we'll get into that too in a minute. So another thing that's huge in a lot of hoodoo, you can be Christian and still practice hoodoo, just like you can be a Christian witch, because witchcraft is just a practice. It's not a religion with dogma and rules and an agenda and stuff. It's not trying to tell you what to do. Hoodoo is whatever you want to make it. So there are a lot of Christian root workers. So, with that said, let me bring out something that is infamous in the pagan community, and will probably make many people frown as soon as I show you this. But this is probably the greatest spell book in Hoodoo that you can get your hands on. And most of us already have one. And that's the Holy Bible. The Christian text. Again, Africans had to hide what they were doing and avoid persecution. So much of it fell under the disguise of Christianity to keep them safe, which I think is really smart. But also, they were just genuinely looking for hoodoo within the Bible, and they found it. Like Moses, if you're familiar with Christianity, I'm not going to explain who these people are, so because I assume most of us are familiar with Christianity at this point. But Moses, they thought that he was a great conjure man. That all the feats that he did, his miracles that he did, like parting the seas and stuff, were just acts of hoodoo. That was his root work. They believed that Jesus was a great conjure man. I mean, I don't even need to explain that. He definitely did magic. A lot of people argued that he did do witchcraft or hoodoo or whatever. A Jewish form. But, yeah, the Psalms in particular, the book of Psalms in this, are used a lot in spell work. I don't really use it myself too much as a talisman or as a spell book for my root work. But occasionally I will pull it out, look through it, gather some information from it. This is just a book on hoodoo that I think is really great if you're looking into hoodoo. It was the first book I ever bought on hoodoo. Sticks, Stones, Roots and Bones, Hoodoo Mojo and Conjuring with Herbs, by Stephanie Rose Bird. And Stephanie Rose Bird's cutie too. I just love her picture. I just think she's really pretty. But no, it's a really good book. It's just full of recipes and ideas for your root work, bath addition ideas like soaps and oils and scrubs, floor washes, waters that are drinkable, like Florida waters. It talks about the importance of the dead in hoodoo, which has an element of necromancy. Animal parts, yay or nay. A lot of things. It talks about the incorporation of Egyptian deities into hoodoo. That's really interesting. There are invocations for certain Orisha, which are African gods. There's a lot of things. Oh look, I just stumbled upon a note. It's a list of books that I want to buy from years ago. But yeah, there's a lot of good things in this. It talks about candle colors and numerology and pregnancy. It's a really good book. So, Sticks and Stones, Roots and Bones. Which brings me to the idea of laying bones or casting the bones. It's a divination system in hoodoo and voodoo, where you have like shells and rocks and coins that you use to divine with. And I do have my own. I keep it in a box that I got a Ganesh statue in, keeping with the eclecticness of hoodoo. I also have an Ogum stick in here, which is a Celtic divination system that I love. It's my favorite. I will make a video about it, I promise. I know I keep saying I will. But I do have one in there. And then, it's hodgepodgey. You can really do whatever you want. You collect stones and things and gems, crystals, shells and stuff. I actually have a little medallion in here with a heart. A pair of dice. Dice are huge in hoodoo. Hoodoo's all about luck, and gambling really, really has influenced hoodoo. Lady Luck, all that. Lady Luck is a goddess in her own right, for sure. I have a little peace symbol. Oh my god, I dropped it. What does that mean? But yeah, there's just, you can really put whatever you want, and you do readings with it. There are some guidelines for what that means. Like, if a shell lands upwards, if there's 3 shells in a row, or etc., etc. But there's also an element of, like, psychometry to it. Psychometry is basically clairsentience, which is psychic intuition, psychic impressions, divining with your touch. So really just grabbing the items and using discernment. Like, what energy do you get off of these items in a combination? You know, Jesus. What do you get off of it? It's using your imagination and your intuition in tandem to really get a vibe of what's going on, which might sound a little confusing, but I like it. Oh, I just forgot the name of what these are called. These are a huge thing in the South. Oh my god, I can't believe I forgot what they're called. It's such a huge thing in the South. How could you forget? These come off of trees. This is the seed. And I can't think of what they're called, but you rub them for luck and stuff, and that goes into whole like Ozark magic and stuff. Oh my gosh, but that would be another video. Anywho, I'm trying to give you just a rough little intro, a little taste of what hoodoo is. But yes, Casting the Bones, it's awesome. I actually don't think I have any bones in mine, in my collection. But Casting the Bones was really big in Obeah, which is a kind of another religious or spiritual practice that grew out of the slaves all coming together, along with Santeria, which was what happened basically when voodoo and hoodooers met with Latinos and black slaves created Santeria, and practices of Santeria are Santera. But yeah, Santeria, Obeah, and voodoo are really what is it called? I know Spanish for which is bruja. There's this practice of that. It's like brujeria. I don't know. Anyway, I don't know Spanish, but all those practices came from and were incorporated with voodoo and hoodoo. You also use a lot of these types of candles. Like you see these a lot in Catholic churches. Sometimes they'll have the deities painted on them, the Mother Mary, all the saints and stuff. Why did I say deities? But yeah, these are used a lot. Again, luck is a huge thing in hoodoo. Like luck and love and lust and like the primal needs of a magician or a root worker of any kind. Like spells to get you jobs and things like that. All that like low magic is very big and put up on a high pedestal in hoodoo. It's about like really day-to-day magic. Hoodoo is very much about like paying the rent, getting a girlfriend, getting a boyfriend, getting both, getting laid. It's very lowbrow in that sense, and so I think a lot of people pass judgment over hoodoo, which is unfortunate. Hoodoo is all about the Orisha, even though, as I said, in voodoo you really truly worship and work with them. You don't necessarily have to work the Orisha in hoodoo, but most people do. The Orisha are a huge whole pantheon of deities. There's a ton. And they're all, African, usually portrayed as a Latino or black. And you never see that in witchcraft and Wicca, really. It's so upsetting to me that, we live in this society where really, it's been such a huge struggle for black people, especially in America, especially in the South, for them to get acceptance and visibility. And for some reason, there is no visibility for black people in the craft or in paganism. It's so upsetting. It's upsetting. It's upsetting. That's my opinion. I feel like people ignore black gods. Not on purpose, we're just not shown them. So you don't know. If you don't know about the Orisha, if they're not talked about in the Wicca 101 books that are everywhere, in every bookstore, in every Barnes & Noble you walk into, if they don't touch on the Orisha, then how are you supposed to know about them? But it's like unintentional racism. But anywho, before I get on a soapbox, speaking of soapboxes, I have a soapbox. And this is a type of soap that is very big in hoodoo. African black soap. It's called African black soap. And there's a lot of different ingredients in it. It smells really awesome. I usually don't get this brand. I usually get a brand called Nubian Heritage. Nubian Heritage is an amazing website full of awesome products. Hair washes and just everything. Nubian Heritage. Obviously, they get the name from Nubia, which is an African country. But this is a new brand that I'm trying out. And it's called Genuine Black and White Black Soap. Which is crazy. But yeah, you use it to like cleanse your energies, You can do shavings of it in your root work. When you're laying tricks down, you can use it. Sometimes I'll use it in place of graveyard dirt or brick dust. I love it. Tabasco sauce or any kind of hot sauce. Huge in Hoodoo. You basically use it like sea salt, like a witch would use sea salt. So, to cleanse things, to banish things, to make things pure. Sprinkled around your doorways to keep people away that you don't want. Put it in all kinds of elixirs and potions and things. It's awesome. Sometimes I'll throw a little in my mojo bag. I won't show actually my mojo bag today because it's in transition, but and also because I do find my mojo bag just to be so personal, the contents of which are in it. A mojo bag is a bag, any kind of a bag. Like here's a picture on this book. Just a bag. It can be anything. Don't be afraid to go cheap either. Hoodoo's all about cheap. It can be a plastic bag. It can be anything. But it's a bag that you basically put talismans and amulets and things that you hold sacred to you in. It's a manifestation bag. You can have themed mojo bags, like a bag that's going to draw you luck. It's basically like a cauldron in a bag, if you want to think that. Mojo bags, sometimes called gris bags too. Mojo bags are awesome. Hot sauce, tea tree oil. This is a brand that I really love. I get this one all the time. Tea tree oil is really great. It's made from a whole bunch of different trees. So if you work with tree energy or hold the trees to be sacred, then bam. But use this a lot, or at least I do, in crafting all sorts of things. Floor washes, body washes, all sorts of things. You guys need to settle down. All sorts of things. Tea tree oil. Again, I'm just trying to slowly, just casually show you things about Hoodoo. I'm not going to go into too much depth. Beer. This is just a beer that I like. But beer is huge too, as offerings to deities, drinking it yourself. There is an element of shamanism in Hoodoo, where you kind of alter your state of consciousness with or without substances, to kind of... It's just an easier way to really open up your third eye, let's be honest. But beer is huge. You can also use this as a agent to like cast your circle or to lay your compass. This can be the boundary instead of salt or energy or whatever. You can use beer. It's awesome. I like to use beer a lot actually. I'll splash it out sporadically during my ritual to kind of keep negative energies at bay. I'm like, here, drink this. Don't focus on my spell work. Drink this. Leave me alone. Like, it's a peace offering to any negative energies. And this is probably the biggest thing for me in my Hoodoo, which is peppers. These are just dried peppers. Just dried chili. Chili, like, what are they called? Like chili japones? Chili peppers. I love chili peppers. Red peppers, jalapenos, anything. Serranos. But use these a lot. Again, for all sorts of things in Hoodoo. These are just kind of your basic items, kind of the way that salt and water, etc., different herbs, mugwort and things like that are for witches. And of course, you can use all that in Hoodoo too because it's so inclusive with witchcraft and all this. But yeah, you guys, I just wanted to give you just a really brief. I know that was brief. Just a little scratch of the surface about what Hoodoo is to me. I really love it. Because, you know, Hoodoo happened in my area. I live in Alabama. So Hoodoo, this is one of the birthplaces of Hoodoo. Besides the Mississippi Delta, which is arguably like the biggest place. Not New Orleans, but the Mississippi Delta. But yes, Hoodoo. You should look into it. And Voodoo. Because root work, Conjurin, all that is really awesome. And it is just a big part of my practice. And I don't think that people realize what they're missing by not looking into Hoodoo. I'm being honest. I know that sounds a little like ego-y or me like stepping up on my high horse being like, oh, you should do Hoodoo because I like it and you should too. But it's just something I think you might want to think about and try out. Look into the black people stuff, y'all, because they don't get enough representation. Oh yeah, and it's February now. Happy Black History Month. Bam! Booyah! That was like a, Orisha alignment moment. Thanks, you guys. Bye.